Howdy everybody. In this video I am recommending 5 books that will help elevate you as an artist and inspire you in a lot of ways on your journey as an artist. This is a bit of a follow-up to a different video that I did a few weeks back. Pop it up here. 5 films that will be spiritually opening and expanding your consciousness. A little bit different application where that's more of like having a spiritual experience when you're watching a film. And these are more books that I believe can actually be a great tool set for you as an artist. But we will also get into some spiritual stuff here because it's all part of what I'm talking about over and over. And these books all embody that in some way or another. Welcome to the Art and Void channel. My name is Jesse. If you have not yet, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. That way YouTube knows that this is really valuable and this will reach to other artists. Also, it'll more likely pop up in your feed when I'm putting out new stuff. So these are 5 books that I have read, and in many times I've reread them over and over. And one of the issues that I've seen, I've read quite a few books that are helping artists on their journey, right? And one of the things that I've come across is I have felt so many of them are just kind of shallow. They're like tips and tricks rather than really diving into something that's deeper, that will keep you inspired, keep you really connected to creating art that you find is really meaningful and helping you stay energized by your passion. Some of the books I've read are just kind of like, here's some exercises you can do. And I believe in exercises, I believe in disciplines, but also I like to go a bit deeper. And if you've been around this channel, or if you're new, check out some of the other videos. I like to go a little bit deep on some of this stuff. So while having fun and taking it lightly, we don't need to be overly serious. The first book is, I don't have a physical copy of this book. The other 4 books I do. And this is Catching the Big Fish from David Lynch. And I actually recommend it on audiobook because he is, if you don't know David Lynch as a filmmaker, get familiar with him immediately. And plus just hearing his personality is super charming. His voice is very unique, and having him do his audiobook and hearing him speak it is awesome. And this is very much the ethos of some of the things that I'm trying to provide here. He talks about, in the Catching the Big Fish, about really diving deeper into meditative states, into catching an idea, connecting to energies that will keep you passionate. And so let me read a couple quotes from the book here. I think you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. Never turn down a good idea, but never take a bad idea, and meditate. It's very important to experience that self, that pure consciousness. It's really helped me. I think it would help any filmmaker. So start diving within, enlivening that bliss consciousness, grow in happiness and intuition. Experience the joy of doing, and you'll glow in this peaceful way. Your friends will be very, very happy with you. Everyone will want to sit next to you. And people will give you money. So that's me speaking my voice, but to hear him say that is actually really fun. There's a lot of points in that book that are really hilarious just because of his delivery. But it's also really helpful. And one of the ideas that I was really inspired when because I think I first read this or listened to it when I was first starting out my filmmaking work, and it would just help me to hear someone as iconic and prolific and renowned as David Lynch talk about this idea of, I think he's a painter. I think he talks about painting, and he says, if you want to get 1 good hour of painting in, you have to paint for 4 hours. He also talked about writing a script, and likely you're going to write for every 10 pages of script you write, you have 1 good page. And so even someone who is way further along than I ever was and ever will be, just hearing him say how much of the process. You need to spend time in the process and understand that to get to the gold, you're going to have a lot of trash. And that is actually part of the experience of creating your art. So I highly recommend Catching the Big Fish by David Lynch. The next one I have is, it's not really about being an artist, but it is exemplifying being an artist. And this is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. This is a really well-known and respected book. And essentially it's a poem and it's a story about this prophet of a town, and he's in a sense kind of saying his farewells to a town, and they're asking him to share one last time about all these different themes. And so this is really just an amazing book to read and absorb just for your soul. It's so profound, and obviously it's been around for a long time and been beloved. And the reason why I'm recommending it as for artists is because it inspires a certain part of you when you read it, hopefully. And that is to connect more just to the world and love. And it is in itself a poem. It is itself very philosophical. And the work communicates and embodies and has a spirit that what it creates is just so inspiring. And so to think about this with your art, what are you saying and what are you creating with what you're making in your artistry? Do you have a philosophy to it? Do you have an ethos to it? And are you pressing into something that is eternally and cosmically profound, that when people read it, they feel inspired, they feel healed, they feel like their awareness is reaching a new level. So let me read one little section here. This is a part of one of the chapters called On Love. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you into himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are pliant. And then he assigns you to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred, bread for God's sacred feast. And I could go on, and it's so beautiful. And when you read this, there's a bit of a reconnecting to this calling that I've talked about many times. And when you're called into something that you love and will love you back, as this portion communicated, it's going to take a lot from you. It's going to put you through the thresher, so to speak. But what remains is a purity. So if you've never read it, man, I bought this, I've given this as a gift to many people. It's amazing. So the third book on my list it's more about the spirit of this book more than I'm saying you should go out and get this book, although I would highly recommend it. This is one of my favorite photographers, Saul Leiter, who a lot of these photos were taken in the 40s, I believe, in the 50s. And his photography is just incredible. And I'll show you a few examples. But although I would say, yeah, if you can find this book, go get it. It's because the imagery is beautiful. But more so just from having something visual that you can just reach and grab. Because we artists, we are visual beings. So even if your craft is writing, or even if your craft is music, and we're creating a lot of visual imagery. And I believe we are often very inspired by visuals. And as far as this book, what I love about it is it captures an atmosphere, it captures an intimacy that I rarely see in photography. His framing of things is so astonishing. And let me just read a section from this book that kind of explains and encapsulates a good description of why he was so talented. Leiter's nudes have a marvelous transitory quality. They are not about solidifying the present into a sculptural form. They are romantic, cursive notations of time and space. They are about transformation, about the fleetingness of the instant, and a never-ending search for beauty. A lot of these are all black and white, by the way, but he did awesome color stuff too. A lot of it was street stuff. A lot of these are nude, so I got to be cautious, although I don't think I'd get flagged for them. Like, this is just an amazing frame. And another one, it's just like the description, the writer stated it very well of what he captures. And I'm just so moved by these because I don't know what it was like growing up in the 40s, but I can imagine there was something kind of illicit about a lot of these images that these don't feel provocative. They feel very intimate. And there's an atmosphere of intimacy that I am just blown away by, that he managed to capture in ways that I haven't seen very many photographers do even to this day. All right, this one's kind of amazing. So just look at the framing there and where your eye is drawn towards. There's a voyeuristic kind of quality to this. And honestly, this book, and there's another book that I think it's called Dirty Windows, was one of the first inspirations for me in one of my first short films that got into a film festival. The voyeuristic quality to it, like you're peeking into a space that you're not really allowed to see. The main thing here is just have a book hanging around that you can just pick up, and the imagery just arrests you. That keeps you inspired. That someone who's a master in your eyes, that will just keep you feeding that energy of you, is like, God, like, man, he's so amazing. I want to be like that, or I want to create some images, or I want to create a feeling, whatever it might be. So even if Soul Lighter's not your bag and you have another visual artist, whether it's a painter or something, just have a cool visual book, coffee table book, something like that hanging around. So that's my recommendation. Fourth book on my list, and this is a big mother. This is a book of symbols, and it's a fatty. This is the Book of Symbols, Reflections on Archetypal Images. And the reason I'm recommending this, I think you probably know where I'm going. We are symbolic beings. And I often get annoyed with so many films and TV shows that are just full of words, when images could do so much more. And we see symbolism in all kinds of artistry. There are symbols and metaphors all over in all kinds of art. And so I love this because sometimes I can just get some ideas of something I can build a theme around or use within a story, and or even a music video or something like that, where I can kind of create, how do I say this? There's like a mystery. Sometimes people see an image and a symbol of something that creates a mystery, and we can connect to it, the viewer or the consumer who's engaging with the art, and they feel something, but they don't always know exactly what the definition is. So it creates this beautiful leaning in of like this, I need to understand the mystery a little bit more. And so that engages people with your art. And so this kind of stuff, this kind of a book can help you kind of explore a lot of these symbols that we've seen throughout cultures. And a lot of these they might flip you on the script. It's kind of cool. It's divided in a bunch of sections like creation and cosmos, the animal world, the human world, the spirit world, plant world. And so even something like this, I'll show you here, like, and it'll show you some images of like sculptures and stuff. Like this is the bat. This is a bat. And so you can see some of the images of like old sculptures and things like that. And it's kind of fun because here I'll read. In reality, the bat is shy and gentle, fastidiously groomed and a tidy housekeeper, particularly in Asia. The bat represents the material aspects of the great goddess, The attunement of a mother bat and her baby is such that they can instantly recognize each other's high-pitched squeak in a nursery cave of millions and be reunited. Vampire bats are known to share regurgitated blood with starving bats and to adopt orphans. Alchemy sometimes depict the mercurial spirit of the unconscious with bat wings. It is a way of conveying not only a psyche's darkness, mystery, and ambivalence, but also its provision and unforeseen agency, the way it can lead to consciousness into spheres requiring a different kind of orientation, and in which they can be found in the fructifying unconventionally of nature. You might want to incorporate something that's just kind of interesting. Mouth, use the mouth in some kind of project you're painting or you're drawing, or you use the mouth as some kind of motif in the film you're creating. And there's multiple uses of these things throughout time. And so if you know yourself how you are employing this symbol, it can create a lot more layers and depth to what you're doing as an artist. So like the mouth, right? Mouth can mean a lot of things. It can mean something sexual. It can mean devouring. There's an Indian myth here that relates that the Hindu gods emerged from the mouth of the Lord of Generation. It could be the mouth or the jaws of death. All kinds of cool stuff, right? And there was one other one. And I even saw this, and I thought this was kind of cool. So I really like this book, right? So this is a crack, right? And I saw that, and I'm like, that's a funny thing. Like, we all kind of get what a crack is, right? But I thought about, if you had this character in a show, and he was like this he was like the good guy. And what if, visually, every time, you the way you frame him, you put the production design into his character, the way he dresses, the way he carries himself, it all communicates things about his character. But what if, like, in the background in his office, there was this crack, and it would be so subtle and so subconscious that most people wouldn't notice it, but you would be communicating something to the viewer that maybe all of this perfect presentation, there's something there. And then over time you reveal a different layer of him that is not so put together. So you're hinting at things visually with something like a crack. So yeah, all kinds of cool stuff in here with drawings and statues and carvings and history. So really cool book. I recommend this for all the reasons that I just said, and we'll move on to the very last one. Last book, definitely not least, is Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. And I've quoted Rilke before. I don't know which copy of this. I've purchased this book so many times and given it away to so many people. And I feel like this is the starting point that many artists just need to get their baseline. It is so essential to understand the heart of being an artist. And we can get wrapped up in all these other things, whether it's marketing, whether it's appreciation, notoriety, and this just continues, this over and over, just gets back to the spirit and the soul of what it is to be an artist. The way this book starts off is just a great opening, and I'm not going to read those because those are some of the most popular quotes, and those are the ones that I've used. I'm actually going to jump to the back of the book because there's a really cool insight in here. Your doubt can become a good quality if you train it. It must become aware and must become criticism. Ask it whenever it wants to spoil something for you, why something is ugly. Demand proofs from it. Test it, and you'll perhaps find it helpless and nonplussed. Perhaps also aggressive, but do not give way. Demand arguments and conduct yourself thus carefully and consistently every single time. And the day will be drawn when it will become, instead of a subverter, one of your best workmen, and perhaps the cleverest of all who are building at your life. All of us artists have self-doubts, And some of those doubts are just coming from a certain insecure part of ourselves. And this passage is so profound because there is a skill of learning how to engage those doubts. And I've experienced this, I'm sure you have too, of is it just putting something out and being perfectionist about it? Is it just what will people say or think about it? Or is there a way you can actually confront, question, and engage with these ideas and these doubts that pop up? Whether it's a song that's something's nagging at you, because ultimately you're going to have to judge for yourself whether or not you are satisfied with your work of art. And this has happened many times with me where people tell me it's good, but there's like this little crawl on my side. I'm like, I need to fix this one thing, and I'm happier for it. I've done this with scripts, like feature-length script. I've written 70 pages and then realized this is not carrying the spirit of what I actually want to say. And I just throw it all out, start with a few pages, try to redeem and repurpose a few of the pages that I liked. Songs that I've struggled to, I'm sitting on this song for like a year, but this one line in the verse just doesn't seem to be quite right. And then I lean in, press in a little more deeply, and it just gives it that extra heart and soul, that extra level of depth and conviction that I think would have been missing otherwise. There's that balance, right? Because we're still want to be creatures of action and moving forward and being prolific and learning through creating. But I love this quote because I rarely see people speak like this, and a lot of times, usually it's just like power through those doubts, ignore the doubts. And maybe I've said something similar in the past, but there's a really beautiful relationship you can have with these internal criticisms that become a lot more conscious and will help you internally elevate yourself in the depth and beauty and the skill of the art that you're making. So those are the 5 books I would recommend to any artist who is looking to elevate themselves and to grow in depth and quality. Let me know what you think. If you've read any of these, if you have your own recommendations, I would love to hear them. Or if you've read some of these and you're like, I didn't get it, I didn't like that one, that's cool. You can have a dialogue. And if you like this sort of thing, I love hearing your comments so that I can think of what to put out there in the future. If you've watched this far, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.